with no E, so please, there's no equal.
I'm kicking off this limited Black History Month Thrift Flip series with the DIY suitcase table. I drew inspiration from the decor of a restaurant that I visited when I was in Rwanda. I was cleaning out my cousin's storage shed and I stumbled on his wife's great-grandmother's vintage suitcase. I already have a suitcase table that I purchased a few years back, so I thought it would be a fun project to see if I could make my own. This baby has been living unprotected in a storage shed, and so it was in much need of a deep clean. I tore out the fabric inside because it reeked like dead old people. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but it smelled really aged. Then it was time to get the grime off the outside. I cleaned a test spot with some borax and water and a soft bristle brush. I then went back and scrubbed out the whole thing. I was trying not to saturate it, but this suitcase was filthy. So I hosed it off in my tub before doing another detailed scrub with Dr. Bronner's soap. I was trying to use gentle soaps so not to damage the coating on the outside. So I started to get the rust off the hardware with salt and lemons. You can see it oozing off the back hinges. I let that sit for a while and then went back and scrubbed the rest of the rust off with a scouring pad. I poured vinegar inside to get the old smell out of the wood and let that sit overnight. I took a few trips to Lowe's to source some hardware and wooden legs, but the legs at Lowe's were $8 each, not including the hardware, so I decided to see if I could thrift the legs. I did find a vintage bread box at the Unique Thrift Store in New Jersey. And so I removed the legs and hardware from that. This hardware was gross, so I let it sit in the CLR for a week. While that was soaking, I sanded the finish off the old legs and spray painted them bronze. A week later, I scrubbed all the gunk off the leg hardware and drilled the legs on. There was a 2-inch gash on the top of the suitcase and some stains that I couldn't remove, so I peeled gold flakes off an old belt I was going to throw out to mimic the Japanese art of mending pottery with gold. I fell in love with some prints at a local fabric store that would be perfect for the inside of the suitcase. I also used fabric that I found in a market when I traveled to Rwanda in 2016. All in all, it took me about 6 hours and $21 to make this. In the calculations, I'm not including the time it took to go back and forth to the thrift store, the fabric store, and Lowe's. And I already had the majority of the supplies that I used at home, so I didn't calculate those into the cost. I'm so proud of what I came up with. Here's my piece next to the inspiration piece. I think that the African print fabric just adds a nice cultural detail, as well as the Japanese gold foiling on top. I'm just so in love with my project. I was trying to add an extra storage feature with these ribbons up to here. I originally had some bias tape, but it wasn't tight enough to hold, and then so I thought elastic would be a good fit, but I wasn't quite pulling the elastic enough for it to be taut enough to hold stuff in here. So these two pieces were a bit of a fail, but it's okay. Overall, I'm really in love with the piece. Ideally, I should have did this first before gluing the backing into here to have it just really be nice and taut and able to use for storage. So I may play around with this a little bit later, but for right now, I'm done with my DIYs and I'm really proud of how this came out. So thank you for watching. Take care.